Welcome to the Tao Salon. This is the place where we stop just staring at numbers and we start to really feel the story they're trying to tell. We believe that deep inside every statistic, there's a current, a flow. And today, we're going to find it using one of the most elegant tools out there, the simple line graph. Okay, let's jump right in. It all boils down to this one simple question, doesn't it? How can a few little marks on a page, a handful of dots and some straight lines, somehow uncover an entire hidden story? Well, it's because data isn't just a boring collection of facts. It's a narrative, a flow, just waiting for us to look at it in the right way. So, what kind of story are we talking about here? With a line graph, it's almost always a story about time. This isn't just a static picture. Think of it more like a movie of your data. We actually get to watch a situation unfold moment by moment across a timeline. And that's really what a line graph is all about, right? I mean, its whole reason for being is to show how something changes over a period of time. It doesn't matter if you're tracking company growth, or the temperature outside, or, like we're about to do, someone's sleep patterns. A line graph makes that change totally visible. The really cool part is the transformation that happens. A line graph takes what could be a really dry, boring list of numbers and turns it into a visual journey. You don't just read the data anymore, you see it. You see the peaks, you see the valleys, you see the whole rhythm of its flow. All right, enough theory. Let's get our hands dirty. It's one thing to talk about it, but it's another thing to actually see it in action. So we're going to build a line graph completely from scratch using a really simple, relatable set of data. 1 week of David's sleep schedule. And here it is. This is the raw material for our story. We've got 7 days, and for each day, we have a number showing how many hours David slept. Right now, it's just a list. But think of these as the key scenes, the key moments that we're about to weave into a really interesting plot. So, first things first, every story needs a stage, right? For a line graph, that stage is built with 2 simple lines, the horizontal x-axis and the vertical y-axis. We draw those first, and then we have to pick a scale for each one to make sure our whole story has enough room to play out. That horizontal x-axis, that's our timeline. I really like to think of it as the river of time, It just flows steadily from left to right. For David's story, it's going to carry us from the start of the week, Monday, all the way to the end on Sunday. And the vertical y-axis, that measures the what, the event itself. In this case, it's the hours of sleep. So if we look at our numbers, we see David's highest amount was 9.2 hours. So a scale that goes from 0 up to 10 is going to be perfect. It just frames the data really nicely. Okay, step 2. It's time to put our key moments onto the stage. Each data point gets its own dot. So for Monday, we find Monday on the bottom, and we go up to 7.2. Boom, a dot goes right there. Then for Tuesday, a little lower at 6.5, and Wednesday, we see a dip all the way down to 6.0 hours. You can already see the start of his week is a bit of a downward slide. But wait, the plot thickens. On Thursday, there's a huge jump up to 8.4 hours. He's catching up. Friday is the peak, a glorious 9.2 hours of sleep, and he stays strong on Saturday at 9.1. But then look what happens on Sunday. A massive drop to 5.9, the lowest point of the entire week. See, there's a real story here. So now we have all our individual moments, our dots, scattered across the graph. And now, for my favorite part, the most satisfying step, we connect the dots. From Monday to Tuesday, Tuesday to Wednesday, and so on. This is the moment where the flow, the true narrative of David's week, finally comes to life. And of course, we need to add the final touches. A story isn't complete without a title, right? We'll call it Amount of Sleep Over 1 Week. Simple, clear, no confusion. Then we label our axes, so anyone looking at this knows exactly what they're seeing. Days of the week at the bottom, and sleep in hours up the side. Perfect. Our story is ready to be told. So, we made a chart. Big deal, right? Well, actually, it is a big deal because when you understand how it works, it unlocks a whole new way of thinking. So let's break down what we just did into 3 core ideas, 3 conceptions of flow that you can use to find the story in pretty much any data. The first one, and honestly, this might be the most important idea of all. That horizontal line at the bottom, the x-axis, it's not just a line. You have to see it as the steady, forward-marching arrow of time. It gives context to everything else. Every single peak, every valley, every dot on that graph only has meaning because we know when it happened. So why does this matter in the real world? Well, in business, this is everything. It's your company's pulse. You're tracking quarterly sales against that arrow of time. You're watching your daily website traffic to see how it flows day to day. You're following a stock price over an entire year. Time is what gives the whole story its structure. And that brings us right to our second powerful idea. See, a dot on a line graph isn't just a random value. It's an event. It's a snapshot of a very specific moment in time. That 9.2 wasn't just some number in David's sleep log. It was Friday. That single point captures a specific reality at a specific time. And if you're in marketing, oh, this is pure gold. That one little dot can show you the exact sales spike the day after you launched a big campaign. Or it can flag that disastrous drop in engagement the second a new website design went live. Each point is a clue, showing you cause and effect. And these first two ideas, they come together beautifully in our third and final conception of flow. The line itself, that's the story. That's the flow. That's the Tao. Its slope, its direction, its shape, that's what reveals the trend, the pattern, the real narrative. The line on David's graph tells a crystal clear story. A midweek energy slump, a weekend recovery mission, and then a pretty rough Sunday getting ready for the week ahead. And if you're in, say, consumer research, being able to read these lines is your entire job. You can visualize the yearly rise and fall in demand for a seasonal product like sunscreen. You can see a slow, painful decline in a brand's loyalty over several years. That line shows you the invisible patterns in how people behave. So there you have it. You've got the arrow of time, you've got the key moments happening along it, and you've got the connecting line that reveals the underlying trend. That's it. That is the secret. It's a simple framework, but it is so powerful. And it really just leaves us with one final question to think about. What story is your data waiting to tell?